Today we're looking at Leeds because I know the city very well. We've got a portfolio of Airbnbs of over 50 units. Personally, I live in Leeds and I've also got a bunch of properties here, so I know the market really, really well. What will we cover today? Essentially, we're going to cover why Leeds is such a great area for Airbnb at the moment, what are the attractions, what are the pitfalls, and also what are some good listings and what are some bad listings. Why should you trust me on this? As I said, I live in Leeds city centre. I've been here for over 2 years now and we've got over 50 properties in the area with 2 apart hotels. So I think that gives me some credentials to talk about it. If you're interested in understanding how Airbnb works and how your city could be analysed, drop a comment below or watch the next video which talks more in depth about how Airbnb actually works. So the very first thing that I look at when analysing a city is this thing here. So we're going to show it, which is hotels and holiday rentals. You can basically see when you go onto Google Maps where all the hotels are. So you don't need any fancy software, you don't need to do anything to begin with, you just type it on Google, go onto Google Maps and look at your location. So when we look at Leeds, for example, we can instantly see where most of the hotels are clustered. There are a couple up this way to Headingley, a lot in the city centre, and one down here, which is Premier Inn, Leeds, Ellen Road, which is obviously right by the football stadium. So that's what we've seen so far. There's a clear common denominator of where the hotels all are, which is majority in the city centre. Now, if you look at where our Airbnbs actually are, and this is for our personal portfolio, we've got a couple up in Headingley and then a lot in Leeds city centre. Why are hotels actually a good indicator of what's going to perform? Pretty self-explanatory really, but if you're a hotel, if you're a massive company, whether you're Hilton, Marriott, Radisson, Premier Inn, Holiday Inn, whatever it is, right? You are going to do your due diligence, you're going to do your research on where the most foot traffic is. What is attracting people into Leeds? Again, look in here, you can see that everything is basically clustered about 90% in the city centre. And this is generally what we found. We've tested Airbnbs outside the city centre. Headingley has worked well. We've tested Chapel Allerton, which has been okay. And we've tested other areas. But what we found is that the majority of people staying are in Leeds city centre. Now, why actually are 90% of the hotels in Leeds city centre? Leeds has a really strong kind of financial commercial district, and therefore there's a lot of people who come for work here. But again, that's all located in the city centre. It's not where you've got like certain areas where there's work spread out. All of that financial stuff is in the city centre. They're also doing massive amount of building developments at the moment on the south side of the river here. So kind of around here, and they're kind of just basically these areas have generally not been that nice, and they're basically doing massive building developments, apartment blocks, all that kind of stuff. That obviously brings a large amount of business to the city in terms of contractors, professionals, all that kind of stuff. So the contractors obviously who are doing the building, they're going to need a place to stay because these projects are going on for 2 to 5 years, depending on how big it is. So that again brings a large amount of people to the area, but where are they going to stay if they're going to be working around here? They're going to be staying in the city centre. This is some of the advice I give to some of my students on the Airbnb Mastery Programme, helping them start and scale their Airbnb businesses from scratch. So that kind of breaks down a little bit as to why the city centre works so well. The other place which does work decent is Headingley. Reason being, just to break that down a little bit, is that you've got Headingley is one of the bigger and more affluent areas. It's got a lot of, it used to have a larger student population than it does now because, so Hyde Park is where most of the students live here, and more they've been pushing the students back into Hyde Park. But Headingley has got a nice city centre, it's a fairly affluent area, it's got Leeds Beckett University campus here, so you've got university students, you've got work, you've also got the rugby and cricket stadium, so that brings in work, and then you've also got people generally visiting for family. What we've seen here works well is more your relocation, insurance, longer term stay type guests, and a few contractors have generally been what we found in our Headingley properties. In terms of the specific clientele that you're going to be bringing into Leeds, there are a couple real key factors is what I'd say. So firstly, what makes a good property for a contractor? What makes a good property for a professional? What makes a good property for relocation? So we've found that if you're talking contractors, generally they're bigger bookings because they're large groups of people. That's where us having multi-unit apart hotel blocks has worked really, really well, because then they can book multiple apartments for the lads and the guys who are doing the work. So that generally works really well. What I'll show you on one of our properties, for example, I'm just going to pull it up on my screen now, is you'll see that we've actually got 2 beds, so like a twin room essentially, to maximise sleeping capacity. So maximising sleeping capacity while also maximising comfort. Let me show you that. So the reason that we've done almost twin rooms is that contractors want their own bed. They don't necessarily mind sharing a bedroom. And that essentially allows you to push up your rates because you're sleeping more people, but you're doing it in a comfortable way. What you don't want to happen is you don't want contractors who are going to be coming and going, working long days. They're not going to be wanting to sleep on sofa beds. So where does sofa beds come in? That's more tourists, weekend guests, those kind of things where they don't mind sleeping on a sofa bed for a couple of days. The reason that contractors pick Airbnbs over hotels is obviously if they've had a long day's work, they want to be able to go in the kitchen, make their dinner, go to bed. They want to have somewhere comfortable to stay and sleep. You know, hotels, you lack that kind of home away from home. If you're constantly working away, you want to be able to go into an Airbnb, you almost want to book it on a weekly basis, and this is how you get your direct bookings. Book it on a weekly basis so they know the property, they know how everything works. It's easy for them, and it also for the companies is cheaper to book an apartment with multiple rooms than it is to book a single room for each contractor. Now professionals are a slightly different market, and you get a lot of that again in the city centre because of the kind of financial district that Leeds has. Professionals more so tend to be smaller groups, so you're talking your 1 to 2 bedroom apartments. If they're on long projects or long stays away, then they're going to be booking for a month, month and a half time, which is great for your business. How do you attract professionals? That's where you need to have a more clean, high-end look. So what we've tried to do with our properties is always give them a clean, high-end look in terms of the paneling, the pictures, the staging. So we want it to feel that you are walking into somewhere that has aura, if you want to call it that, or, you know, is a nice place to stay. You don't want your company, or you don't want to be booking somewhere where you feel it's a bit grotty, it's a bit dingy, and that's where reviews also massively come into play as well. This is just a droplet of the information that I give to my students on the Airbnb Mastery program. So when you start looking at apartments like this is a 2-bedroom apartment. We've also got 1-bedroom apartment listings, and we've also got 3 bedrooms. So what are your kind of costs? So these are all 2-bedroom apartments in Leeds that you're seeing here on my screen. That one costs about 1,600, that one about 1,500, that one about 1,400. So the ranges of Leeds city centre apartments for a 2-bed goes anywhere from sort of 1,300 is really good price on the low end, but you might get lower quality, up to the top end that we pay is 1,800. And I'll show you that apartment right now if I can find it. So the most expensive apartment that we have in Leeds is this one, which is a massive 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment, which is 1,000 square foot. And that we pay 1,800. And that one works really well on the high end. So generally that's your range. You don't want to be going above that 1,800 mark. Otherwise it's way too much. For a 1-bedroom apartment, you're looking at anywhere from £1,000 to 1,200, 1,300. For an Airbnb, the problems with 1-bedroom apartments is that you're just directly competing with hotels. You offer 1 bed or 1 bedroom. The hotel offer 1 bed or 1 bedroom. Maybe you can do it a twin, which is what we've done on a couple of our 1 beds. So you'll see it here, is that on our 1 beds, we've also offered twin rooms to give that, again, extra bed space, extra living space, extra comfortability. So these ones have worked well. We pay about 1,150-ish, 1,150, 1,100 for the 1 beds, and you'll see that picture here. I wouldn't go above that at all. And then for a 3-bed, you're looking at around 1,800 plus. If you can get it from 1,800 to 2,000 mark, you're doing pretty well. I wouldn't go above that either. Depending on the house or apartments here, I'm talking about specifically 3-bedroom apartments in Leeds city centre. So what kind of income can you expect from these properties? A 1-bedroom flat is going to probably range from anywhere from 1,800 to 2,400, depending on the month, time of the year, etc. You know, if you're going lower than 1,800, you're probably not making any money at all. 2 bedrooms, you're going anywhere from sort of 2,000. The highest we've had on a 2-bed apartment was 4,500, but that's that really premium one. But generally, you want to be kind of the 2,500 to 3,500 mark, and you're probably making a decent amount of profit on each of those. And then for 3-bedroom apartments, you basically are going to be doing about 2.7, 2.8 upwards to 4. And that's kind of your ranges there for 1 bed, 2 bed and 3-bedroom apartments in terms of the income that you'll be bringing in on those properties. If you're interested in watching how I break down other areas, make sure to click the next video and understand more about Airbnb and why Airbnb is the best business model in 2025. So let's break down what actually makes a good Airbnb listing. So for example, I'm going to break down 1 listing, which is ours, which I would say is good, and 1 listing, which is not ours, which I'm going to say is bad. So if we look here, for example, first picture, very eye-catching. So this is your photo tour, but your first picture here, very eye-catching. What you want to make sure is essentially that when someone is going to book your apartment, you know, The biggest thing is the click-through rate. Airbnb loves to see properties that are being clicked on. And why are properties being clicked on? Because your photos are good. That's generally it. You know, when you're scrolling on Airbnb, the way it works is you'll see the first couple photos. So you need to have a great cover image. So you can see here, the way that we've staged it, the way that we've done the painting and the paneling is just inviting and it looks good. Then on top of that, what we've done is we've added a photo tour, talks about living room, TV, heating, you know, does it have the accessibility, all that kind of stuff. We've shown tea, coffee, we have sugar. Again, just showing the fact that the Airbnb is kind of, it does subtle messaging that the Airbnb is equipped properly, looks good. We've shown them all the different variations of apartments that we have as well, because obviously this is a multi-unit listing, so this is one of our apart hotel blocks. So you can see the variations, we've got different kind of bedrooms. Again, does that look really nice? Yes. A twin room again to accommodate more people, just showing that it's a well-prepared property. One of the things that we've also done here, you can see self-check-in, walkable area, that kind of stuff. And then it's about your descriptions. You want to make your descriptions broken down and easy to read. People have a very poor attention span, as I'm sure you know. So if your description is not clear and not easy to read, people aren't going to read it. So you want them to be able to scan through, okay, 2 bedroom, 2 bathroom, 1 ensuite, 1 family room, kitchen, what does it come with, that kind of stuff. Just very easy to scroll through, talk about parking, you know, all the kind of things that people want to know. Does it come with linens? Does it come with parking? Does it come with accessibility features if they need it? All these kind of things, you need to break that down in your description very clearly. And then one which is obvious is kind of your reviews. At the end of the day, you know, we've got 58 reviews of 4.86. That keeps us a superhost. We are a superhost on here. That makes a big difference. At the end of the day, people want to know that they're booking something that they're going to most likely have a good experience. And you take that additional risk when you book an Airbnb. The next listing that we're going to review is one I found that I would call a horror show, in the sense that if this is your cover picture, you know, it doesn't look appealing. The microwave looks old, the kitchen looks old, it's dark, it's dingy. They've put no thought into this whatsoever. You know, at least they've got a photo tour, but I would not want to book this personally. You know, it doesn't show prepared. The pillows look flat. It doesn't even look like you've got 2 pillows per person. The pillows look flat. The picture's on wonky. You know, the bathroom looks okay because of lighting. They've also, if you know, that's Bridgewater Place. That's a big building in Leeds, but they've done 2, these are 2 separate different buildings. Most people wouldn't know that, but again, that's a key thing. Like, if you want to make a profitable Airbnb, you need to have a high click-through rate and a high conversion rate, because Airbnb will push the listings to the top that are clicked on the most and then also convert the most, because that makes them the most money. So this one here, £98 a night. As you can see, it's currently the 5th of September. It's not very booked through because it's not got a very good description. Then here, for example, again, not a lot of information in terms of, it's very condensed. So they've said modern 2-bed, 2-bath apartment, sofa bed in a prime location, enjoy fast Wi-Fi, etc. But they've not broken it down. So they've given some good information there, but some people might just click on that and just go, I'm not going to bother reading it. They should also give more information as well, is what I'd say. So that's quite key and important. Obviously, it's only got 1 review at the moment. So it says great spot, new apartment. I would be skeptical because this person is new. So whether that's a real review or not, we don't know. But these are a couple of things where if you really want to make a profitable Airbnb management business, so if you were, for example, if you were paying someone, a management company, and this is the listing that they turned out with, you wouldn't be very happy with the money that you paid. So if you can try and get good pictures, good descriptions, and good titles, again, for example, this says Summer Suites Apartments, that's our brand. So then they can find our brand. Central, high spec, sleep 6. That gives you a lot of information. This, the comfort hub. That gives no information about the property. Again, this is the first page that if they click on your listing, which they might not even do for this one, that's what they'll see. So you need to give that additional information quickly. You want to hit all the kind of subconscious green flags. That's how you analyze an area for Airbnb, and also how to get some good listings. If you found this video useful, click the link below and watch the next video on why Airbnb management is the best business model to start in 2025.